Welcome to Module 5, Psychology. So, up to this point, we've already covered the foundation, the basics, the assignments, and execution. In this final module, I'm going to show you exactly what a real trade looks like from start to finish. That includes context, confirmation, risk, management, and review. But knowing what to do is not the same as doing it under pressure. Because look, when your plan meets pressure, your psychology is going to get exposed. This is exactly what this module is about: emotions, impulsiveness, patience, discipline, and the real life consequences that come with how you approach this market. So here's the reality check: trading has real life consequences. So before we even get into charts or live trades, I want to make something very clear because a lot of people come into trading because they want more money, more freedom, and a lifestyle they've always dreamed about. And I get that. But wanting it is not enough. If you skip through all the earlier modules, did not take notes, did not study it, and still expect yourself to start winning, you're most definitely not going to last long in this market because this is not a game where you can just skip the foundation and somehow survive off hope. We all know action determines an outcome. So if you rush the process, the consequences are real. And if you ignore the work that you need to do, the consequences are real. And if you treat this like damn entertainment instead of a skill, the consequences are real. Another thing people need to understand is that desperation is not an edge. If you're trading with rent money, the last of your dollars, or money you just can't afford to lose in general, that pressure is like a pressure cooker. It's gonna keep building up, building up, building up before it pops because it's going to show up in your decisions every single time, every trade. You'll force entries, you'll size emotionally, you'll cut too early when fear hits, or you'll revenge trade because you feel like you have to, quote unquote, make it back. And the crazy part is sometimes desperation might work once. You might catch one good trade, you might even make some fast money. But the real question here and the reality of it is, how long does that last before you're right back where you started? Because if the mindset is still broken, man, those results don't last. So, this is what psychology really means. Psychology means when the plan meets pressure. Because when most people hear trading psychology, they think it's just about mastering your emotions or mindset, some soft, vague way. And I'm here to tell you that it's not, because psychology is what shows up when your plan meets pressure. It's what decides whether you wait or force a trade, whether you stay disciplined or get impulsive, whether you follow the setup or you sabotage it. And most traders don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they can't follow what they already know. Psychology shows up as impatience. It shows up as boredom. It shows up as fear, greed, ego, frustration, and impulsiveness. So, this is not some side topic. This is execution under pressure because if emotions keep overriding your rules, then the issue is no longer knowledge. It's self control. You need a leash. You need to get spanked. This is exactly why mentorship matters. Because some traders need mentorship. Some people do not need any more free information. They don't need another random YouTube video or another hot take on social media. They don't need more motivation, inspiration. What they really need is accountability, correction, honest feedback. They need somebody with a trained eye who can see the mistakes they keep missing in themselves. Because a lot of traders stay stuck in blind spots. They repeat the same emotional mistakes. They justify bad habits. They blame the market. They convince themselves that they're improving when they're really just looping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Our mentorship is not about some shortcut, not a get rich quick scheme. It's not us holding your hand forever. It's about reducing avoidable mistakes and accelerating your maturity. You could take this into any echelon. And a lot of traders, quite frankly, they really can't figure it out alone. A lot of people need one on one guidance from somebody who's already been through the mistakes that they're making. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. The real issue that I see is people pretending that they can fix everything alone while continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over. There's no need for that. Now, let's look at psychology in real time. Because psychology is easy to talk about after the fact, but is much, much harder to see while you're trading.
So we got a break of opening range. Tech is doing really good right now. Let's see.
Trigger here almost at the anchor point. We just tapped 382.5.
I agree with you there. I just took some futures, but no option calls. Looks like orb might work here. Looks like we got a failed open range break here. Gonna wait on this candle to close and see if it bounces off the New York VWAP. Looks like it wants to retrace back down below. I'm looking at the 6665 calls if we can hold this New York VWAP.
I'm currently waiting until this reclaims the New York VWAP so I can get into some option calls for the upside.
Let's see how this plays out. Okay. So that 6665 calls, I have a limit order at 6. Let's see if we can get in. Okay. I'm in at $6 per contract on the 6665 contracts. Let's see. Yeah, these premiums are ass. You guys will most likely get a way better fill than me. Look at that. That thing bounced off from like $5.20. So if you guys got in on that a little late, you guys are whew, you guys are up. So it looks like every time we hit opening range high, we're low key hitting a wall.
Someone just bought 6690s, 2000 contracts coming in here on SPX.
Yeah, even with this candle dog, this shit is not moving at all. I'm low key gonna get out. And this shit is just I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna put a tight stop loss of negative 10% because this shit is not even moving with that pop off.
It looks like those were a net sell on those 6690s here.
Yeah, even with that pop off, it literally did not. The contracts didn't move at all. So it's not even worth it. Even if we go a little bit higher, what are we gonna get? Like 5-10%? Even that bounce of New York VWAP, like, dude, like that was perfect, but it just doesn't
Yeah,
make
nice move
sense.
on the chart. It's just the premiums are not moving at all.
Yeah. That would have been a nice scalp too. I mean, I just that was fucking stupid. See, like days like this, it's cool to trade futures because you don't lose value, or your contracts don't lose value as fast or at all, actually.
The only thing that really looks like it's moving is Tesla.
Yeah,
Tesla and
Tesla's been
Google are
popping
moving
off
nice.
too.
Everything else is kind of flat.
I'm looking at our contracts, like it only moved 20 cents after that big pop off we were just having right now. And then look at that, it's back below. See, this is why we got out, because it just doesn't make sense to stay in those contracts. If it can just reject opening range high right there, and if it rejects opening range high, we're going to be negative like 25%, 30%. The risk to reward is not worth it at all. No worries. We can always come back later in the day in the trade. The dust settles down. I'll send a markup of my chart though. So even after that trade, what we want to do is always have a self-assessment or a post-trade review, just so you can see any blind spots or anything you might have gotten wrong or what you got right and why you chose the setup that you chose. Real quick, I'm just gonna live stream my screen then, and then show you guys what trades I took on futures, mainly because it matters in the context. It just, the contracts on the SPX calls that we took were just losing value so quick. The premiums weren't moving, even on a small pop off that happened on SPX, which was pretty retarded. So if you guys could see my screen, after opening range was set, I added on to this Newark VWAP right here at 645. Got a couple contracts there. Once it popped off to the open range break, I actually took some trims at 24,572 on MNQ, and then trimmed some off at a 2-minute stop loss right here, as you guys could see, because it went below it. Try to retest VWAP, but buyers were still in. And then since buyers were still in, we're just slowly grinding up. There's some selling pressure. We come back down to that Newark VWAP, which I was saying in chat that, hey, look, we can actually enter here. So we enter, and even after that big pop off, our contracts from $6 per contract, it literally stayed like at $6.10, $6 ish. And then it just after that little drop, it just stopped us out real quick. And then you can see right here, we kind of played around. It popped off still, and it was not even past $6. I'm looking at the contracts right now, and even if we were in those contracts right now, it's at $8. Now, even if it's at $8 right now, like any reversal, like let's say if it comes back to New York VWAP, we would have been like negative 20, 30, 40% even. And that goes against our rules. So it was just not worth it. But absolutely this entry on the New York VWAP bounce right here, which you can see I bought some contracts and got out. That was way more worth it. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. I'm gonna come back later, so it's not over yet. We'll be much better off later whenever price settles and then the contracts and premiums get much better. So we're not done here yet. We'll be back. All right, guys. You guys take care now. Now, before we end this video, I'll leave you guys with this. The market literally doesn't care how badly you want it. It doesn't care how urgent your bills are. It does not care how frustrated you are, how excited you are, or how badly you want freedom. It only responds to preparation, patience, discipline, and your self-control. If you keep breaking your own rules, the problem is no longer just the market. It's the gap between what you know and what you actually do. Psychology isn't optional. It's part of your execution. Because if you cannot master yourself, the market will expose you sooner or later. Now, with that being said, welcome to the Noir Exchange. I'll see you guys on the next one.